So I left the river bend there, but not without saying goodbye to the river and leaving some tobacco and fruit and doing. I took out my singing bowl that brings peace to all things living or dead, and ran it around 900 times. Surprised my arm didn't get tired, actually. But yeah, no, and that felt good. And then I had this, of course, I felt this wave come over me, which was good. Yeah, I'm pretty tired right now. So I'm at a grocery store and go spend some food stamps on something comforting for me and Sadie. And then we're gonna probably just sit in this parking lot tonight. I don't know, we'll see. There's a lot of parking lots around here, so that's good. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. It was pretty hardcore, that experience I just felt. And I had to ask the oak trees to forgive all the shit white people do and have been doing, and for holding on long enough in the following of the path towards perhaps greater self-awareness and evolution of the human species, to not think it's that great and kind of see every other species as equal, for general equality across the board for everyone and everything. And the oak tree said, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, because we've been putting up with you people for a while. It's a pretty big tree, so, it's clearly been there for at least 300 years, I like big trees. Yes, they're so comforting. Okay, so we're gonna come back down to earth now for a little while and get some rest of the humankind. And yeah, and then do whatever comes most naturally. No sudden movements, no humongous life-changing decisions, just no big striving plans for anything one way or another, just kind of taking it easy as it comes in the river, you know what I mean? And we've been very, very close to extremely large, I'm not sure if they're buzzards, there's one flying right over there, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of far away still, but when we were saying goodbye to the river, one came really close. It was pretty cool, because then you can actually see how big they are, and the wingspan's like 4 feet or something. Look at that, look how big that is. It's huge. Wow, see, there it is. It's fucking huge. It's like 4-foot wingspan. So cool. Oh, it just makes me feel so grounded when I see them. It's great. Kind of reminds me of when I first went back east after being in California for a good 25 years, and I'd forgotten about summer thunderstorms, over there. These are all cloud-seeded skies for the most part, but, back in the East Coast where the clouds are authentic, there was this huge lightning storm happening. We were in a parking lot of some Walmart in, I don't know, must have been somewhere around Nebraska, Iowa, somewhere in there, and it was actually outside of Chicago in Illinois somewhere. But I was standing outside in the parking lot, just like gaping at the clouds and the lightning storm going, "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." And these two women are walking towards me, looking at me like I'm a total freakazoid. And they're like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, this happens every summer. No big deal." It's just sometimes people don't notice shit when they're used to seeing it. It's like you become so desensitized to your own environment. So, since in terms of addiction, what you're usually reacting to is your empty cage of environment. So when you change your cage, you tend to become a lot more open-minded, open-hearted, uh, open-ended about everything around you, which is why I always highly recommend to people to travel more, because it really does open up your worldview. So it's a good thing. Getting out of your comfort zone. Although I get it, it's difficult. It is hard. I mean, it took like every ounce of my energy to get in the truck and drive across the Bay Bridge. Like, it's that difficult sometimes to get out of your comfort zone. But once you do, oh my God, as soon as you're out of it, you're just like, oh, it's like you're alive again, even though shit is scary or whatever and it feels weird. It's just, you just feel alive. Like, I'm going to remember that park by the Sacramento River Bend for the rest of my life. And I've spent a good last 6 months, day after day after day, that I probably won't remember, kind of repeating, running around in the same little like circle, doing the same things every day in the same places. And I was literally getting to the point where I was so frustrated because I was just so sick of parking in the same places over and over again. And I was just like, I need to get out of my circle. I need to get out of my little well-worn path and like go park in other places, because it just makes you feel alive again. And it's good. Even when shit happens that's really bad. Like, I remember sometimes when we'd be traveling in the military, we were always moving around constantly when I was growing up. And one of the things I really appreciated about my dad in particular was that, like, at the time I hated it that he was always saying, "Oh, it's just temporary, don't worry, it's just temporary. If you don't like this, it's just temporary." But we would go, sometimes we would take like flights to England to go see my mom's family in Oxford for Christmas or whatever. And sometimes we'd take space available flights, which means you just basically go to the military base and you get on whichever flight is flying in the general direction of where you're going. And it costs like $10 or whatever, and you end up flying on these giant like cargo planes and shit, which when you're a kid, of course the pilots always bring you up front because you're like the only kids on the whole flight. And it was so fun. It was so fun. But of course it would take like 3 weeks to get to England instead of 12 hours or whatever, without a direct flight. So at one time we actually got to fly from Georgia to Delaware, I think it was. Oh no, we went from Delaware to Georgia, and then we flew from Georgia to Iceland and stayed there for a weekend waiting for another flight out towards Europe. And the only flight leaving towards Europe was going to the Azores, which is a group of islands off Portugal. So we went to the Azores and we stayed there for a weekend because there wasn't another flight for like 4 days or something. So we're like, oh well, might as well go wander around these islands in Portugal. And it was just, so fucking beautiful. And we, accidentally going to all these places just because the planes were going in that direction or whatever. And Iceland again, like, oh my God, I will never forget that place. It was so amazing. Like, it's so cool. And then we flew finally when a plane showed up that we could get on to, we got on that one and we flew from the Azores, we flew to Germany, to Munich, and then got out there. And this was like during the Christmas winter of 1989. It was the year that the wall came down. It might have been the winter of 88 to January 89, or maybe 87 to 88. It was somewhere in there, but it was when the wall came down, because I remember seeing a poster up as soon as we landed in Germany Oh, by the way, I was also on acid. Yeah. So, I was about 17 or whatever. So I was really into acid at that point when we were living in Alabama. That's right. That's where we started. Okay. So, yeah. So we left Alabama and then, I'm taking acid on the plane, tripping balls when we land in Germany, like to the point where my legs are all sore from the strychnine, And I see this poster for a Pink Floyd concert happening for when the wall's coming down that winter or whatever, whenever it was happening, that it was coming up, and I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. We sat in another airport for another 3 days, trying to sleep on those weird chairs, But I, of course, didn't sleep because I was tripping balls. And I kept drawing all these pictures of Bjork because I was really into the sugar cubes, too. Of course, as you would be, LSD. And, yeah, I always end up talking to somebody, like some private traveling or whatever. And, it's pretty cool. It was a good trip. And my parents were always so embarrassed about me because I had a weird haircut. They would let me wander like really far away from them, and they didn't care. And they were like, "Yeah, just get away from us. We don't want anyone to know you're related to us because you're an embarrassment to us, basically." So I would, I was just tripping balls and wandering around the airport for days on end, doing whatever. And then because there were no planes leaving from Germany to England, we decided to take a train. So we took a train all the way through Europe. And this was before the EU, way before the EU. So, we had to stop at every borderline, change the money and all that stuff. And then we finally got to England, like Christmas Eve or something. Yeah. That was a good trip. Yeah, I think that was actually the same. That was the same trip that that my dad felt me up again after going through court and having him not feel me up for several years because of course everyone knew he was feeling me up since I was a kid. But then all of a sudden he got really drunk one night and he just decided to feel me up again. It was really weird, and I was kind of in this weird traumatized state, so I just left the house and I went to the pub because I realized I had just turned, or no, I guess I had just turned 18 because I was legal drinking age in England, not in Alabama, but I was legal drinking age there. So I was like, fuck this, I'm going to a pub. So I went to a pub and I proceeded to get really drunk in my traumatized state, and then this band comes wandering in, and they were all about my age or whatever, like 4 in the afternoon at this pub, and they start playing. And long story short, that was Tom York's first band that played in this pub called Jericho's Tavern at like 4 in the afternoon. And there were only like 3 people there. And I ended up walking out because I felt really uncomfortable because he was so uncomfortable when he was singing. He was so nervous. And I could just feel his discomfort. And I just felt really bad. I was like, I gotta go because you're making me want to cry. Because, of course, I was just as uncomfortable in that moment. And I remember walking back to my grandparents' house super drunk at like sunset. That was a good time. Good times, buddy. Good times. Yeah, see what I mean? Like, even when shitty shit happens, like, it becomes so memorable. It's just so good to get out of your comfort zone and go live some life out there, the good and the bad parts. Because then you remember stuff. And I like remembering things, without having a camera. Because a lot of times I had to take pictures of everything in my childhood just because I knew I wasn't remembering huge sections of what was happening. And so I had this like obsession with like shooting Super 8 film or taking photographs ever since I can remember, or recording things on tape. I used to do that a lot when I was like 4 or 5. Well, I was like 5 or 6. Just was obsessed with tape recordings and anything that would document reality so that I knew it actually happened, because I was brought up to not believe anything was actually happening, being gaslighted from a very early age. To the point where I didn't even think I actually existed. For a long time I was just pretty convinced I was already dead, and I was just wandering through this world like a ghost, and that's why no one could hear me. So now that I know I exist, pretty cool. I know I exist on some level, so now I'm not so concerned about which dimension it is, but I do know I exist. And that's good. Anyway, that's my ghost story for today. My ghosts of living ghosts and ghosts of living pasts and livings of ghosts pasts. Thanks for listening. Hey, see you later. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.